You ever walk into a place so perfect it makes you afraid to even breathe wrong? Marble floors so polished you can see your own face in them chandeliers, throwing gold light over everything, the kind of silence that feels expensive. Yeah, this was that kind of place. And right in the middle of all that perfection stood a little girl. Black hair in two neat braids, black and white, maid's uniform pressed so crisp it could cut you. And in her tiny hands a silver bucket she was gripping so tight her knuckles were pale. She didn't belong in the picture. She was too small, too human, in a house where even the flowers felt rehearsed. She walked up, marched up to a man in an immaculate black suit, satin tie, posture like he owned the air itself. And he did. Jackson Harrow, billionaire, collector of rare everything, and the kind of man who didn't notice staff unless they messed up. He bent down, eyes sharp. "Well, what is it?" His voice wasn't loud, but it had that edge, the kind that made grown men sweat. The girl's eyes darted around, like maybe she could find courage tucked in a corner somewhere. Then barely above a whisper she said, "My mom died this morning. I have nowhere to go." The words didn't just hang in the air, they punched a hole right through it. Harrow blinked, like maybe he misheard. This was Achilda, maid's child, talking about death in the middle of his pristine hallway. But her trembling lips, her cracked voice, no, she wasn't making this up. He straightened, shifting uncomfortably. He knew her mother. Worked here for nearly a decade. Quiet, reliable, never asked for favors. He'd heard she was sick. Guess he didn't realize how bad it was. The mansion carried on like nothing happened, music from the upstairs guest wing, crystal light dancing on the walls. The world didn't stop because a child's world had ended. She kept her eyes on the floor, bucket handle clenched like it was the last thing keeping her together. He finally said, clipped and formal, "You should speak to the head housekeeper." "I did," she murmured, so soft he had to lean in. She said, "Without my mom here, I can't stay. I don't have anywhere else." Then she looked up, deep brown eyes, glossy with unshed tears and a sadness that did not belong in a face that young. "Where did you sleep last night?" "In the laundry room." It was warm, something twisted in his chest. She wasn't begging for months or years, she was begging for tonight. Just tonight. And for the first time in years, Jackson Harrow didn't know what to say. He told her, "Come with me," his voice quieter now, almost reluctant. Her small shoes tapped on the marble as they walked through corridors lined with oil portraits, towering vases, doors she'd never been allowed to open. He led her into the grand study, mahogany shelves, leather chairs, a fire snapping in the grate. "Sit," he said. She placed her bucket at her feet, folding her hands in her lap, like she was afraid to disturb the air. "Your mother," he said slowly, "never once asked me for anything. She didn't like to bother people," the girl replied, and somehow that hit him harder than any insult ever could. He opened a drawer, pulled out a small velvet pouch, keys. "Guest de suite. Third floor. Yours as long as you need." She froze. "Mine?" "Yes. Warm bed, your own bathroom. Meals sent up. No more laundry room." That's when the tears came. But the peace didn't last. 3 days later, a new figure arrived, Miranda Price, his estate manager. Polished, ambitious, and with a permanent smile that didn't reach her eyes. She cornered him in the hall. "Jackson, this arrangement, it's not appropriate. We can't keep a child in staff quarters without proper guardianship. Liability issues." "She's staying," he cut in. "Be reasonable. If word gets out." "I said she's staying." Miranda didn't push, but her look said she wasn't done. The girl, her name was Lila, continued to work small tasks. Dusting, polishing, helping the chef peel apples. The staff started treating her differently, warmer. Even head housekeeper stopped glaring like Lila was trespassing. Then one night, during a winter storm, the city shut down under thick snow. The mansion was a quiet island. Lila knocked on a study door, carrying 2 mugs of cocoa. "I made these," she said, holding one out. He took it. "Thank you." She hesitated. "You didn't have to help me, but you did. My mom always said people show who they really are when they think no one's watching." Something about that stayed with him. But in the shadows of the mansion, Miranda was watching and plotting. A week later, Jackson returned from a late meeting to find the guest suite empty. Bed neatly made. Keys gone. Bucket gone. His chest went cold. He found Miranda in the foyer, coat on, phone in hand. She's gone, Miranda said smoothly. I arranged for child services to take her. It's what's best. You what? His voice was low but dangerous. She needs proper care, not charity in a mansion. He didn't wait to hear the rest. He grabbed his coat, his car keys, and drove into the icy night. By the time he reached the downtown shelter, the storm had turned brutal. Snow blurred the streets, but he spotted her huddled on the steps, silver bucket in her lap, jacket far too thin for the cold. She looked up when he approached, and for a second, there was fear. Not of him, but of hoping and being wrong. Come on, he said. They said I couldn't. They were wrong. Back at the mansion, dripping snow on the marble, he turned to Miranda. You're fired. Effective now. You can't. I can. And I just did. The other staff stood frozen, some wide-eyed, some quietly smiling. He looked at Lila. You're not just staying here. You're part of this house now. Part of my life. Do you understand? She nodded, clutching the bucket not because she needed it, but because it was all she had left from before. Months later, at a spring charity gala, Lila stood beside him in a simple white dress. Guests whispered, curious. Someone asked outright, "Who's the girl?" "She's family," Jackson said. No hesitation. And he meant it. The camera flashbulbs popped, crystal glasses clinked, but for Jackson Harrow, the man who thought perfection was marble and chandeliers, the real treasure was standing right beside him. The night ended quietly. Lila was curled up in the study chair, a book in her lap, firelight warming her face. Jackson stood in the doorway for a long time, just watching. Outside, the last of the snow melted under a soft rain. He thought of her words, people show who they really are when they think no one's watching. And for the first time in years, he hoped someone was. Fade to black.